Hey guys, Samurai here, back again with another episode of the Pokemon Sword and Shield series, Crown Zenith. In the last episode, Ash, Chase, Elaine, Lucas, Rento, and Peonia, along with Stranger B, have just made it to the next round of the Galar League. In the last episodes, the matchups were like this. It was Ash versus Chase, Peonia versus Rento, Elaine versus Lucas, and Stranger B versus Pia. Now today is the day the matches actually start. While the first match is nothing to scoff at, it is the one that not everyone's really looking forward to. It's Stranger B versus Pia. While both of these trainers are surprises that have made it this far, nobody's terribly excited as both of these people weren't favorites to win, but it is interesting to see who will win this clash between the two. The battle is incredibly dynamic and is incredibly engaging, but Stranger B ends up taking the win. However, when Chase watches Stranger B battle, he can't help but realize that he knows the guy from somewhere, but can't put his finger on it. But he doesn't think about it for too long, as he's still anxiety-riven on having to fight Ash. This is when the matchup between Elaine and Lucas happens. Everyone wishes both of them luck, and Elaine is super excited as she gets to finally fight who she considers to be her baseline of who is the strongest here. Now the battle begins and Elaine sends out her newest Pokemon, being Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is an incredibly tough Pokemon and hard to beat for most trainers, as nobody's really seen her use it up to this point. This actually kind of throws Lucas. The battle continues on as Lucas sends out his next Pokemon, being Runerigus. Now Runerigus and Nidoqueen have an incredibly intense battle between the two, as both of them are giving it their all. Nidoqueen is using the move Stone Edge, and Runerigus isn't far behind, using the move Nightshade. Both trainers are giving it their all, and the battle is incredibly dynamic and ferocious. However, Lucas notices that he has no strategy on taking down this particular Nidoqueen, so he comes up with his ultimate move, sort of a way to speak. He ends up using the move Destiny Bond, and this is when Nidoqueen, she goes with an insanely powerful Fire Punch. Now due to Runerigus just fighting an incredibly hard battle, it ends up getting knocked out. Elaine, thinking that she has the first win, ends up losing her Nidoqueen incredibly early on. She's incredibly surprised by this and didn't see this coming at all. This is when Lucas sends out his next Pokemon, being his Beartic. Now Elaine definitely was afraid of this happening so early on, but she keeps a cool head, and this is when she sends out her Boltund. Now Boltund and Beartic have a pretty interesting battle, as while Boltund can't take a lot of hits, it's incredibly fast, so it can dodge most of the hits that Beartic lands on it. But Beartic isn't one to be taken lying down, and Beartic ends up using the same strategy that it used earlier against Lucas's father, allowing him to bite on Boltund and then use Sheer Cold, knocking it out. Elaine is surprised that Boltund got knocked out so easily, but she's not taken out yet. Noticing that Beartic still took a lot of damage, she sends out her next Pokemon, being Charizard. Charizard does an incredible job, and due to Beartic already being tired, Beartic ends up getting knocked out. While Lucas doesn't seem to be fazed by this, he isn't showing off either. He sends out his Haxorus. This is when Elaine switches out her Charizard for her Blastoise. Blastoise is another incredibly powerful Pokemon of hers, and it knowing Dragon-type moves actually ends up helping it in this battle. However, Haxorus and Lucas have a strategy. She notices that Lucas is just amping up Haxorus using Swords Dance and Dragon's Dance repeatedly. She doesn't really understand the point of this, but she goes on the full offense and commands Blastoise to finish off Haxorus. This is when Lucas commands Haxorus to use the move Outrage, and in a single fell swoop, Blastoise is knocked out. Everyone is surprised by this, as they didn't expect such a tanky Pokemon from Blastoise to be knocked out with one hit. Even Leon, who's watching the battle, is incredibly amazed by Haxorus' power. This is when Elaine sends out her Audino. It knows some Fairy-type moves, so she thinks it's going to be useful. She tries to get Audino to use Dazzling Gleam, but due to the Swords Dance and Dragon Dance that Haxorus performed earlier, its speed is on a whole nother level, and it attacks with a powerful Outrage, knocking out Audino before it could even get a chance to attack. Elaine is truly set aback and did not expect to be pushed this hard. This is when Elaine, she sends out her first partner, being Eevee. Now she has a plan with Eevee. She ends up using Gigantamax with Eevee, thinking that in this Gigantamax form, even Haxorus' amped up form won't be enough to take out Eevee in one shot. And she's kind of right, as Eevee is able to take one more Outrage but due to this, Haxorus is kind of confused. This is when she instructs Eevee to attack with its max move. When everyone thinks that Haxorus is going to be knocked out, this is when Lucas uses the move. This is when Lucas instructs Haxorus to use the move Draco Meteor. It ends up clashing with the max move enough to weaken it to the point where Haxorus can gain his composure back. This is when an intense battle happens between a non-Dynamax Haxorus and a Gigantamax Eevee. Haxorus is using Outrage and can fight on the level of a Dynamax Pokemon. Elaine doesn't understand this and thinks that she can outlast it, but this is when Lucas comes with the stipulation that even a Gigantamax Pokemon as strong as it is can only last for 3 turns, and Outrage lasts for 3 turns more. This is when Elaine realizes the mistake she's made and it's too late to switch out her Pokemon. This is when Eevee loses its Dynamax and ends up getting knocked out by Outrage. With Elaine only having 1 Pokemon left to send out, she sends out her Charizard. Now everyone's excited to see the child of Leon's Charizard being used in a battle. Even Leon's Charizard comes out of its Pokeball to watch. The battle is intense as the audience cheers and everyone gets ready. This is when Elaine reveals her secret weapon that she's been training with Peony, Mega Evolution, and she Mega Evolves her Charizard into Mega Charizard Y. With Mega Charizard's Y's busted moveset and its ability Drought increasing its fire-type moves, one strong flamethrower is enough to subdue Haxorus for now due to it being exhausted. Elaine is incredibly satisfied and thinking that she has the upper leg on Lucas here. However, Lucas is never one to be caught off guard. He sends out his Samurott. Now everyone's surprised to see Lucas' Samurott. Heck, even Ash and Rento are, as they expected Lucas to save his Samurott when he was fighting either Rento's Gallade or Ash's Cinderace. However, Samurott, unlike Cinderace and Gallade, would fight anybody if it means they stood in his way. This is when we get to see an intense battle between a Mega Pokemon and a Pokemon with no stipulation except for one. This is when Lucas fully charges his Z move, and this is when he uses the move All Out Pummeling. Everyone, and I mean everyone in the stadium, is shocked. However, Mustard is seen watching this battle and commends Lucas on finally mastering the move with a Pokemon he never expected to use it. This is when Samurai uses his move Sacred Sword, but it's replaced with All Out Pummeling, dealing massive damage to Charizard, but it doesn't take it out of the battle yet, but it's incredibly exhausted. However, Mega Charizard Y in this case can still fight on. However, this is when Lucas finally reveals Samurot's true power, telling Samurott to use its signature move, Ceaseless Edge, and this ends the battle in 1 slash. Elaine has lost this battle, and while she faces Lucas with pride and shakes his hand, thanking him for such an amazing battle, she ends up going back to the locker room in a corner by herself, and when Eevee and all her other Pokemon come out of their Pokeballs, she finally allows herself to break, and this is when we start to see tears flowing from her eyes in abundance. She thought that she could actually make it to the finals, reflecting on her entire journey, asking if it was just a waste, saying that at this point in time, she feels like she's the worst trainer on Earth. She couldn't even push Lucas to 5 Pokemon, and he ended it with 1 slash. He was in complete control during the entire battle. This is when, out of all people show up, Nessa does. This is when, out of all things, Nessa tries to make some small talk. She tries to talk to Elaine, but Elaine isn't responding. Nessa kind of responds that was kind of insensitive on her part, but she said that she saw the match, and she knows that Elaine looks up to her a lot. She says that when she first participated in the league, her match was against Raihan back in the day, and let's just say she got absolutely mopped. She got destroyed. Raihan didn't even use all his Pokemon. He used strategies that she didn't even see coming, and she ended up losing before she even made it to the finals. But she still became a gym leader, and she still loves battling to this day. When Elaine asks what's the point of telling her this is when Nessa responds that it didn't stop her from achieving her dreams. She felt like the worst person possible after that match, feeling like she let down everyone, including herself. But she realized that losing isn't the end, but is the beginning to a whole nother chapter. She says that she left Galar shortly after she lost and went to train across the world. And then when she came back for a gym leader exam, she passed with flying colors. She instructs Elaine to do the same thing, to leave Galar and to leave where she's familiar from and get to explore the world and train. She might not even want to become a gym leader by the end of it, but you never know until you take that first step. Elaine takes this to heart, and this is when Nessa tells her to get ready to cheer on both Chase This is when Nessa tells Elaine to dust herself off and get ready to cheer both her friends in their next battle. This is when we get to see right before Rento vs Peonia, Rika, who's still here, comes to talk to Rento, saying that Rento in his last battle against Dune made a lot of obvious moves that he didn't need to make, and overall just made a bunch of moves that ended up wasting more time. She ends up telling him to do better, saying that their parents trained them way better than this, and he's being a disappointment to his family style. This ends up getting into Rento's head a lot before the battle. The battle between Rento and Pionia is about to happen, and the stadium is roaring with anticipation. As the two trainers walk out, Rento notices something about himself.
Can I do this? Right, I got no time for hesitation. Swampert, let's go!
Rento, are you ready? Because losing is not in the cards for me. It's time to shine, Nidoking.
As the battle begins, Rento sends out his trusty Swampert that he's relied on for most of his journey. And this is when Pionia sends out her Nidoking. The battle is heavily attack-based and really brutal, as both of these Pokemon are attack first and ask questions later kind of types. Due to Swampert's big bulky defense, it does allow Rento to be a bit shaken up, but he is able to take a small victory here. Pionia sends out her next Pokemon, being the Pokemon Meganium. Meganium is one of her strongest Pokemon and is 4 times effective against Swampert. Meganium and Swampert do have a good battle, with Swampert using Ice Punch. However, Meganium is able to land a super effective Razor Leaf and ends up knocking out Swampert. But she notices that Rento almost seemed to give up after the first attempt didn't work. Pionia thinks about this for a second, but she doesn't let it shake her up, still choosing to keep Meganium in the battle. This is when Rento sends out his next Pokemon, he sends out his Hydreigon. Now, Hydreigon is a very strong Pokemon, so even if Rento is not in his right state of mind due to what Rika said earlier, Hydreigon's battle style, along with Rento's experience, even though he's a bit phased, is able to take care of Meganium. But it's not a battle fought without some losses, as Meganium did do a bunch of damage on Hydreigon. This is when Pionia thinks of type advantage and sends out her Arctozolt. There's some definite back and forth between Arctozolt and Hydreigon, as due to Rento's shaken up kind of mental state, he isn't able to truly test himself and truly use Hydreigon's abilities to the best of what it can do. This is when Pionia gets a bit mad and kind of ticked, and she lets what her thoughts of the battle be known, her opinion. She's very disappointed on what Rento is showing her in this 6-on-6 battle.
You're thinking about her, aren't you? Well, newsflash, you're never gonna beat her. Arctozolt! Use Iron Tail!
The battle between Arctozolt and Hydreigon carries on. The battle is still very intense on both sides, however, it does end in a draw between both of them. This is when Rento finally laments about how he's been feeling, and he basically spills everything out.
Rento, I swear to Arceus, you're the only individual I know who has the skills of a champion, but will make the most obvious blunders in front of your sister. She doesn't matter. Your strength is your own. You're not defined by her.
Shut up, you wouldn't get it. Your entire identity means nothing. All because of someone else's success. Aegislash! King Shield!
Aegislash and Tyrantrum have a clash between the both of them. As Rento is relying heavily on defense here, Peonia is going full offense, but this wears out Tyrantrum over time, and Rento's able to knock it out. Peonia deciding to send out a really reliable Pokemon of hers, she sends out her Lapras. The Lapras does an amazing job fighting against Aegislash, as Aegislash's defense doesn't really work against a Pokemon who's already based in defense, so Rento has to go on the attack, but since Rento isn't in his right state of mind, he ends up losing one of his strongest Pokemon, being Aegislash. This kinda snaps him out of it for a minute, and he finally starts to focus. This is when Peonia finally yells at him about the stuff that she had to go through having her father be a previous champion and high ranking, but she says what she needed to hear a long time ago.
I'm just scared. Every time I battle, I hear the voices in the stadium. They're bullying me. They're calling me a fake, a fraud. Usually, it edges me on. Now, I can't even function. With her here, nothing I do will ever live up to her expectations.
You can't change the past, but you have to grow from it. The whole reason you entered this dang league is to battle Ash and Leon and Lucas. Don't let your Pokemon down.
This is when Rento sends out Blaziken. Now Blaziken, you might say, is a mismatch here, but Blaziken is nothing to scoff at. And while everyone still thinks that Rento is still in his dazed state, he reveals his strategy of a strong Thunder Punch. Now due to Blaziken's speed boost, it makes him faster. Along with close combat, he's able to gain a victory here. Peonia is surprised and is elated to have him back. But Peonia is still realizing that even when Rento wasn't focusing on the battle, she's still losing by 1. She decides that it's time for her to use the secret weapon that she trained with her dad. It sends out her Garchomp. Now Garchomp and Blaziken have an immensely exciting battle for both of them. The battle is risk-filled and is filled with a bunch of Blaze Kicks and a bunch of Dragon Claws. However, neither side wants to give an inch. This is when Peonia finally reveals the true power that she was training.
You know, Peonia, you are my best friend, and nothing's gonna change that. Blaziken, it's time to show the fruits of our training. Let's show them how strong a trainer from Pionia can be.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Garchomp, let's show everyone what we can do. Keystone, respond to my heart. Garchomp, take us into the finals with your Mega Evolution.
I'll show you the full power of the trainer from Pionia. Flare Blitz!
The moves Flare Blitz and Dragon Rush clash, and when everyone thinks that this is when Rento lost Blaziken, Blaziken stands triumphant as the victor of this battle. Rento thanks Peonia, calling him his best friend once again, and with Peonia telling him to not lose to anybody, and that if he does, she'll never forgive him. He laughs about this, and that's when the battle ends. This is when, in the break room, Rento thanks Peonia a lot, saying that she finally got to him, and saying that he's not going to care what his sister says from now on, and now she's going to battle with his full intensity in his next round, whoever he may face. This is right before Ash vs Chase happens. We can see Chase in the locker room shaking. He's super nervous, pacing around the room, having no idea how he's going to beat Ash. Ash is already in the dugout waiting for Chase to walk out together, but he notices he isn't here. When Elaine asks if Ash is gonna go get him, Ash almost looking angry, saying he's not. Now that he's facing Chase, he's not Chase's mentor anymore, he's Chase's rival, and he can't afford to go easy on him. This is when, out of all people coming to Warriors to help Chase with his anxiety, this is when we get to see Leon again. Leon basically instructing Chase to not give up and to give it his all, saying that when he was his first league, he was super nervous and had a lot of anxiety. It's hard to imagine Leon having anxiety like this, but Leon actually admits that he's kind of a shy and nervous person, saying that as a champion, he has to be pretty outgoing, but in reality, he actually is kind of quiet and likes to keep to himself. But he says that leagues were the first way to get through to that, and when he faced his first league battle, he was incredibly nervous, and he knows that Chase has the strength to push through this, and he encourages him to go onto the field, and Ash and Chase walk out on the field together. The battle between Ash and Chase is about to get underway. The stadium is roaring with anticipation to see how this battle will go out. Even some of the strongest trainers in the region, like Leon, Piers, Lucas, and Rento, are all excited to see how far Chase will do against Ash, as Chase has looked up to Ash before he could even leave on a journey. Chase wanted to reach Ash, and now he has the opportunity to possibly beat him.
To be honest, Ash, I've been wanting to battle you since I got a Pikachu of my own. And now, I'll surpass you. On my way to Leon. Piplup, I choose you!
I've been waiting for this for a long time. Chase, a battle with our full power to put our skills to the test. No holding back now! Dragapult, I choose you!
The battle starts out between Piplup and Dragapult. While most people would be in a losing streak against this battle, this is when Chase finally reveals all the training that he's done with Mustard in order to prepare for this. Chase is fighting completely differently, and Ash has no idea how to counter this at first, as Chase is fighting in a wave that he's never seen before, taking hits but dishing them back twice as hard. He's not really relying on speed as he is defense and heavy offense. The battle between Piplup and Dragapult ends with Dragapult winning with a well-shot Dragon Darts. However, Ash still commends Piplup on a great battle. Chase returns Piplup and sends out his next Pokemon, being Torterra. Now, Torterra is an incredibly strong Pokemon and can definitely take more hits than Piplup ever could. This is when Torterra releases a really strong Stone Edge and it knocks Dragapult out. Ash thanks Dragapult for an amazing battle and realizes that Chase's Pokemon are stronger than he first initially thought. But he doesn't think about this for long as he sends out his next Pokemon, being his Corviknight. Corviknight is offering a great challenge towards Torterra. Torterra can't really reach Corviknight even with Stone Edge, and it ends with Corviknight winning with a well-shot Brave Bird. Chase sends out his partner, being Pikachu, of course. Now, Pikachu and Corviknight have an amazing battle as Pikachu uses his new move Brick Break along with Corviknight using Steel Wing. The battle is pretty intense and speed-filled, but Pikachu winds up to take the win. This is when Ash sends out his own Pikachu. This is when both trainers decide,
Chase, you got so much stronger than I was at my first league. But enough of that. I have to win this battle. Pikachu, use Iron Tail!
That means a lot coming from you, Ash, but I don't plan to lose. Let's go. It's time for my secret weapon. Pikachu, time to Gigantamax. Time for Volt Crash.
that they've had enough, and this is when Chase decides to Gigantamax. Now, even in this Gigantamax form, Pikachu can't really do much to Chase, as his whole battle style being defense then relay it with heavy offense is really tripping Pikachu up, as he's expecting to clash with speed. And this actually winds up knocking out Pikachu due to Pikachu not really knowing how to counter this. Chase is incredibly elated to knock out Pikachu, and Chase realizes how strong he has become. However, Ash doesn't let this phase him, as he sends out a Pokemon that we all thought we would never see again. He sends out Sandaconda, and this time he plans to use Gigantamax. With a G-Max Sandaconda and a G-Max Pikachu on the field, everybody's curious on how this will go. Sandaconda winds up using a Max Quake and knocks out Pikachu in one shot. However, this Max Quake was stronger than most, so this actually ends up having the effect. It has the effect of Sandaconda losing his G-Max power due to how strong it was. However, Sandaconda is still ready to stay into the battle, and Ash is glad to have Sandaconda back. Chase comments on the fact that he gets to face off against one of Ash's strongest Pokemon, being Sandaconda, and sends out Infernape. Infernape is still a really strong Pokemon and can still offer a great challenge. Infernape and Sandaconda have a clash between close combat, and Sandaconda's move being Brutal Swing, but it ends up with Infernape taking away the victory. This is when Ash sends out his second to last Pokemon, being Urshifu. Infernape and Urshifu have a clash for the ages, as both of them are using close combat and other fighting type moves to see who can get the advantage, but with a shock of one wicked blow, it allows for Urshifu to get the win. However, Chase is not discouraged and sends out his last Pokemon, being Kubfu, finally seeing this as a way for Kubfu to graduate himself from training. Kubfu and Urshifu have an intense battle, with each side giving it their all. However,
it's time for our battle to come to an end. Let's go, Urshifu! Let's show Chase in the world that we are unbeatable!
Ash, I'm going to be real. I was discouraged from battles after not being able to match and replicate your strength. But I'll find my own strength and my own style. I'll go even higher. Kubfu, time to ditch the underdog label and become my own person. Now, use close combat!
Kubfu, finally seeing this as a way for Kubfu to graduate himself from training. Kubfu and Urshifu have an intense battle, with each side giving it their all. However, in this case, the big brother ends up winning and Kubfu is knocked out, and Chase has lost this battle. Chase, realizing that he didn't do as well as he hoped, kinda laments, but is still showing a face of pride knowing how far he's gotten. This is when we get to the break room after Ash and Chase's battle. While Chase is very similar to how Elaine was, he's more excited and looks with pride that he ended up pushing Ash that far. While he wished he did more, he's incredibly satisfied with how far he's come. This is when Hob comes into the room incredibly ecstatic for his friend and rival, congratulating him on a great battle, saying that he could sense that his fighting spirit that he, Rillaboom, and Double gave to Chase was there down there fighting with him. Even if they didn't win, they all fought together. And Chase agrees with this, saying that he could feel Hop in the crowd cheering him on. This is when Ash walks into the room. Ash, again looking serious once again, comes to Chase and responds to Chase saying that Chase isn't his friend anymore. Chase almost looking saddened by this, but he responds that Chase is now a rival of his that he's gonna need to catch up to. And Chase is still incredibly happy by this, now being known as a champion's rival. Ash saying that now they gotta go look at the standings and that he should come out, saying that he still tried his best and earns a spot out there. This is when they look up at the standings and it's revealed that Ash will fight Rento and Lucas will fight Stranger B, and the winners of these battles will go on to the Galar League Finals. Everyone is roaring with anticipation, and Ash and Rento look at each other with excitement. And that's the end of this week's episode of the Pokemon Sword and Shield series, Crown Zenith. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and Samurai out.